semester breaks.
Yeah, why are we not offering courses? Then of course the certification eligibility has
Will we
changed.
get refund of our fees if we pass the exam? No. Interpersonal skills.
Change of
live.
certification.
Yeah.
Yeah, go live.
Okay, good evening everyone. We are reaching out to you from the NPTEL office in IIT Madras. We are very happy to be able to join you here and discuss the questions that you have. It's an open forum, so all students can ask us any question they feel is relevant in this context. We have already received several questions, so we will start with a few. And then as the discussion proceeds based on what your queries are, we can address them. So of course there's always this question of mock exam. I think several people have asked about it. There's also questions about domain certification. So we maybe will start with those two. We are not at the moment able to do a mock exam. I mean for practical purposes, certainly not in a very formal way. But what I will tell you is that in all courses we are asking faculty to set up their final exam very much in line with the way the assignments have been set up. So, and for the most part that is what is happening. There are, I think, a few instances where students felt that the final exam was dramatically different from the assignments. But otherwise, I don't think that's the case. By and large, it is very much like the assignments. So in a way, you can think of the assignments as some kind of a mock for the exam. And therefore, I think you should be reasonably comfortable with whatever it is that is showing up on the exam. So that's what I would say about mock exam. I will also add that sometimes we have had students telling us that you asked multiple choice in the assignment. You are now suddenly asking us to solve problems and write some few sentences in the final exam, and that's not fair. That's the comment that some students have made. I would like to address it by telling you that we are trying to prepare you for professional life ahead. At the end of the day, if you simply clear exams and you simply have scorecards to show, that does not really prepare you for professional life. It does not prepare you even for an interview. So at an interview, if you attend any interview with at any organization, you cannot make statements like ask me only multiple choice questions, ask me only 3-line answer questions, don't ask me any diagrams. You can never do that. All you're going to go there and say is yes, I'm a civil engineer, or I'm an electrical engineer, or I'm a computer scientist. I know my areas, the subjects I'm comfortable. They'll ask you what subjects you're comfortable in. So let's say you're comfortable in data structures. They will ask you something about data structures. They may ask you to write some code on creating some data structure. So at that time you cannot say no, I know data structures, but I know only multiple choice questions of data structures. It doesn't work that way. You will never impress an interview panel if you go with that kind of approach. So, so fundamentally, you have to move away from this school mode of thinking of portions, sample question paper, and having exactly the same pattern in the final exam. You should become ready for professional and real life, where a range of questions will come. As long as they are fair with respect to the topics that were discussed in the course, you should be comfortable answering them. So that's the point I wanted to make with respect to exams, mock exams, pattern of exams, and so on. And because many people seem to really get obsessed by this, and that's the thing that I wanted to share. We take a lot of care to ensure that the exam runs correctly. We also take a lot of care to ensure that the evaluation happens correctly. We have many checks and cross checks in the process to ensure that your result is delivered to you both in a timely way and also in a accurate manner. So so that's on the backside of the inner operations of what we do. So that's about the exams. I also want to touch briefly on the domains. So we are trying to build on individual courses. So at the moment, because it is an online mode, people can take any course they wish. And so that we are going to, of course, maintain. That's the strength of the whole process. You can learn anything you wish. But we also understand that, when you go to a job interview or you are actually working in some job location, it helps to be stronger in a certain area. And an area usually is not just one course, it's a small collection of courses. So we are working with professors in each department, in each discipline. So say civil engineering, electrical engineering, mechanical, chemical, you name it, each individual engineering discipline. We are taking the advice of the senior professors in that discipline and making a list of courses that come together as a package. And if you actually do that package, instead of, you may already have done 2 courses in that, but it's usually like say 3 or 4 core courses and then 2 or 3 electives. So maybe 6 courses may be there in that package, and that would be a domain. If you did well in those 6 courses, we have some quality requirements in it. You cannot just pass a course; you have to also do well in it. Then if you do that in 6 courses, you will have a domain certificate. We already have a person from the Northeast who was our first domain certificate recipient. And it is very nice. If you actually obtain a domain certificate from NPTEL, there's a good chance that you are fairly well, fairly knowledgeable in that area, and you will do well professionally in that area. You will do well in an interview in that area. People can expect a good quality from you. So that's the kind of package we are trying to put together across all disciplines, and we are in the process of unrolling it. We will have it more publicly visible to you very soon. So we are working on it.
Yeah. And again, just to add a couple of points about, so we get often these questions about mock tests and whether or not we will have exam this question banks that can be published. That kind of goes against the idea of NPTEL itself. I mean, the idea of NPTEL is about learning. We want to bring learning as the primary focus, and exams, assignments are a way to assess or quantify the learning. So it's just the other way around as we are used to in our schools and perhaps in some colleges as well, where sometimes exam and marks in the exam becomes the focus. We want the learning to be the focus and marks to be just some kind of a quantification of how much you have learned. There have been a few questions that I will take them up. A lot of you have asked whether something like an R software, C++, MATLAB, Excel, will those be available in the exam? None of those softwares will be available in the exam. In fact, I run in the January semester, I run course on MATLAB. This semester I run course where we use Excel a lot. But no, Excel or MATLAB are not available for the exam. So the difference that you will see in assignment problems and in the exam problems is assignment problems would tend to be much more longer. They would be, can be done using the software, whereas exam problems would be solvable by hand and the calculator that is available. You will not be allowed to bring your own calculator for the exam. The calculator is available in the exam as an online calculator, and only access to that calculator is available to you. Okay, the link to that calculator has been shared in on the NPTEL sites, and you can go and take a look at that. And if you still have questions about it, we'll post some announcements regarding that on the NPTEL website as well. The other 2 questions, the easier question I would answer first: is there going to be a refund of fees if we pass the course? No, there is no refund of fees if you pass the course or if you don't pass the course. The fees that we collect goes towards all the costs that are incurred with respect to exams. It's not anybody making profits or anything like that from those monies. It is the amount that we incur for running of these exams. You need to keep in mind there are almost 2 lakh students doing the exams over 3 days period all over India, including some of the very remote part of India, and we want to support that. That's one of the aims of NPTEL, to make a good quality material accessible to 4 corners of the country. So yes, from that perspective, NPTEL would be unfortunately be unable to refund the fees. And I guess we now can take the big
so few more questions. Few more points I wanted to address. One is, maybe it doesn't come up in questions here, but I thought I should take this opportunity, since several students are participating in this process, to convey something, and maybe you can convey to your friends too. please fill in the forms that you fill for your exam with seriousness, the same seriousness that you would fill exam forms for any other purpose, for any other interview purpose or job joining purpose or your university exam purpose. Most people, in fact, do a perfectly fine job, but we do see some number of students, uploading photos that are completely unacceptable for any professional activity. Some are absolutely absurd. I mean, if you are trying to say that you are here to learn something and that you are going to show your best, capability, that photograph doesn't suggest that. If you put a photograph with three people and you submit that for your exam, then that completely, conveys a very wrong impression about who you are. So we expect some professional, performance and participation from your side, just the way you expect, high quality from us, which we are expected to do, and we make every effort to deliver from our side. So a mistake can happen, but it should be above and beyond some reasonable judgment from your side. So sometimes we do see that judgment is very poor. We do see some really, completely unacceptable photographs showing up on the hall ticket, and so that's something we would like you to alert you to, because that's what is going to be on your certificate. That's what if you're ever going to show that certificate in an interview, they're going to make a judgment about you looking at that photograph. We also want to alert you that you cannot just keep changing your email IDs and so on, because there is a entire back-end process which depends on an email address. So you cannot use your friend's email address to submit assignments and then expect scores to be transferred to you. It doesn't happen that way. We have no way of verifying who is attached to what. So whatever email address starts the process, we will stick to that email address to complete the process. All of this that I'm telling you now is very clearly stated in many of the exam processes and course operation processes that are already available to you. It's very clearly stated. There's nothing ambiguous about it. I'm simply reiterating these points because we still see some students making these kinds of mistakes. So please take care of that.
Yeah. Just to reiterate the final point once again, your email ID, as far as NPTEL is concerned, is your identifier. So it is not okay if, for example, the two of us share that same email ID over NPTEL. That is not okay. So please use your own email ID for your courses. Yeah, it does happen. We use friends' email ID, brothers, sisters' email ID, so on. Please don't do that. Please use your own email ID. Then there are several questions about why did I get so many marks. There are specific course related questions. Unfortunately, this is not the forum for us to be able to answer the course related questions. You can definitely ask those course related questions on the forum itself. Yeah, so this we won't be able to take those questions up here. Though there is one question which is a little bit more generic. What do I need to do? Although this was asked in context of maybe one or two specific courses, but what do I need to clear the final exam? Is it sufficient to do just the videos and the assignments? My take on this as a teacher, as well as as someone who's been in this profession for several years, is learning is a continuous process. Assessments and assignments are the ones that are really the workhorse. So you view the lectures regularly, do the assignments on your own. That actually prepares you not just for the exam, but also for the future, where if your future is related, or if your future job is related to the content material of that particular course. So looking at the videos sincerely, doing the assignments at a regular interval, and revising them before the exam is a recipe for success, not necessarily just for the exam, but for future as well. Yep. The other is, when is the next set of courses going to come? The next set of courses will be for the January semester. So the list of courses should be going up.
It's on the site already.
The list of courses is already on the site.
By December 1st, enrollments will open.
Enrollments will open by December 1st. What happens during semester breaks? During semester breaks, we are actually very busy in the NPTEL office, taking care of all the back office requirements in order to ensure that all your certificates, online certificates, all your gradings, all of that is completed on time with good quality, as well as we get ready for the next semester. As a result of that, it's very difficult for us to have courses during semester breaks. But for some of the courses, what does happen during semester break is toppers or very good performers in that course sometimes get an opportunity to visit a wet lab or a physical lab in the university of the course instructor, and the course instructor will go over 5 or 6 experiments in a couple of weeks period. So that does happen. It is a very small component at this stage in NPTEL. We are looking forward to how we can expand that so that that becomes useful for all of you. But again, I mean, at NPTEL in the backside, we are pretty much working the entire 12 months, even though the semester runs twice every year.
There was some question on credits on the certificate. I think it's actually been answered on the chat, but I just wanted to add that we recommend certain credits for course of different durations. So we give a small range also there. We don't specifically say that it is only 3 credits or only 2 credits. We give a little range so that the university can, your respective universities or colleges can make a judgment on how this course aligns with what the credit system that they are following. So they can accordingly make some modifications and then put it into your grade sheet if they are taking no credit transfer for that particular course. So that is something that you should just look at. So, but we do mention for every course there is on the, I think on the rear side of the certificate you will have those details available. So that was one, and I think there's still questions on the domain. Yes, we are, like I said, for every discipline we are starting something called a domain, and all those details will be out fairly soon. So if you are, and again, there is no restriction on who can get certified on a domain. It is the same NPTEL process. Everything is open to everybody. So you could be doing, civil engineering. If you want a domain certificate in aerospace, you can do that. You could be doing ocean engineering. You want something from computer science, you can do that, and so on. It's simply a collection of courses that logically fit together, and usually of the order of say 6 courses, which will fit together. And so typically, if you're, based on the domain, maybe in 2 semesters or certainly in 3 semesters, you can get a domain certificate based on those set of courses. We are still, populating those courses, making sure we have all of those courses available, getting our faculty to get those missing courses ready, and so it will get released in a phased manner. But we expect that it will be of much greater utility for anybody in that area. It will also give you, much more confidence because you managed to clear some package of courses in that area. And here we are not simply looking for a 40% pass criteria to get the domain certificate. You can get individual course certificates for all of those 6 courses by just clearing your 40% cutoffs. But to get the domain certificate, we will expect a higher performance, and then which basically means that you are quite good in that area. So that's the point we wanted to convey. I also wanted to add that, since I mentioned this 40% cutoff, that in the last semester or 2, we have upgraded our pass criteria. Previously, you could get an overall 40%, and that would help you clear a course. Now we are expecting that you will get 40% both in the assignment as well as independently get a 40% in the final exam, and only then you get the certificate. For us, as Professor Niket was saying, we want the whole learning process to happen. We are not focused simply on the final examination. So there are other online course providers internationally who don't have any final exam. They only do the assignment part, which you're doing here. And then we have no idea who did the assignment or how the assignment was done and so on, and simply on faith they give you the certificate. We feel the assignment part is important. We don't want to get rid of it. We want students to see the content every week and do a weekly participation, something like attendance in your college, but not really that. It is a more technical attendance, so to speak. So we want you to go through that learning process. We are not here simply to certify what you already know. We want you to learn something. So that is why we have some importance for the assignments. And then we also understand that, assignments, we have no way of judging exactly who did it. But therefore, we have the proctored exam, and we want to set a minimum bar there also. So it will not help if you have got, if somebody has just looked at their friend's assignment and, copy pasted everything, and then they are simply unprepared for the final exam. They are not going to get a certificate. So they have to really learn. And like I said, our focus has always been on quality. We want to recognize quality. We want to help, encourage quality and so on. So our certification process will always be focused that way. We will always make changes only in that direction. So we are not very worried on the exact pass percentages and so on in every individual courses. Naturally, if we raise the requirements, you may expect some drop in pass percentages. We will always keep you ahead, informed of this ahead of time. So we in fact informed all the colleges, all the SPOCs ahead of time that we are making the change. We in fact even showed them with the last year's performance. Even though we had not used this criteria last year, we showed them that with last year's performance, if we had used this criteria, who would have passed, who would have failed, just so that they understood what they were dealing with as the change happened. And so we will keep people informed as we do it, but we will do it as necessary.
Yep. So this was a kind of a question that has come from a lot of you, and pretty much most of the bases Professor Prathap has covered. Just a couple of points. I mean, for example, a whole lot. I mean, this was a very revealing incident that I had. This was the first year that I started teaching, a fairly long time back in IIT. And there were a lot of students who will say, please be flexible, please give me marks over here, please extend the assignment deadline. I had this, I had that, and all that. And after the end of the course, a couple of students who were very sincere students. One of them actually was a struggling student. He was not even the topper and all that. He came to me and said that everything that you told in the course, all instructions that you gave in the course, I followed them very carefully. Okay, how is it fair to me that you listen to those people who are, not doing things as sincerely that I did, and they get benefit in spite of them not doing things sincerely? Okay. Why I say this is because if you look at the data as we did, this decision happened after a whole lot of analysis of the data that we had. And we saw there were so many cases of people scoring 24 or 25 out of 25 and barely scoring 15, 16 or 17 out of 75 in the final exam. What does that suggest to you? If, for example, someone is able to perform so very well in the assignments, but the performance drops so significantly in the final exam, that suggests that there needs to be certain corrective measures that we need to take. As Professor Prathap has indicated, this measure, it took an analysis for almost 2 semesters. We were continuously doing the analysis using all 4 years worth of past NPTEL data, trying to do some data analysis, trying to understand what's really happening and so on. How does this affect the overall students and student performances and so on and so forth. So this was not a decision that we took as a snap judgment. It is something that we carefully deliberated, and it is something that if we realize that the decision was incorrect, the data today doesn't show that, but if we feel that things are incorrect, we are of course open to changing them. The data even today suggests to us that this is a certain pattern that is happening, and we get rid of that pattern, we will be able to deliver things at a much better quality, most importantly for you guys more than for us. Okay.
Yeah, and there was let me see this one question. How many courses you can be enrolled to? I think there is no limit on the number of courses you can be enrolled to because it's all free. There's only a limit on the number of exams you can write, simply because there are 6 sessions right now for the exam. So technically there are at most you can write 6 different subject question exam papers. We also release the exam schedule right at the beginning, so when you enroll for courses you can see which courses clash on the exam schedule, and as it is, the exams are available on 2 different slots, so a lot of resolution you can do and get yourself a set of courses that you can attempt in one go. 6 new courses in one go is very difficult for you to do. That already means you have to do 18 hours of just watching video, and it's unlikely that you can do that very effectively. But it is fine. You can, try out a few different courses before you, at least for the first week or so, so that you get an idea of the type of content that's being, discussed, the level or the depth to which it's being discussed, and then you can decide what fits you or your background and your interests very well, and then out of that 6 you can narrow down to 2 courses that you want to pay most attention to, and that way you can steadily do some progress. So that choice is totally up to you. I mean, what you can handle and how you can do, but this is just the framework of what can be done. And if you just want to follow courses, you can of course enroll to any number of them and just keep following them. So that's the point.
How do you calculate assignment marks?
So assignment marks are fairly straightforward. So if you have 10 assignments or 12 assignments, so we are just taking say each mark. So we take best 8 out of those 12. So you have the option that for whatever reason you are unable to attempt all 12 assignments or not able to attempt them to the same degree of perfection. We are anyway going to take your top 8 scores. And so in some cases you may even have an extra assignment, top 8 out of 13 assignments, for example, or best 6 out of 8 assignments. So things like that. So we'll always give you some option, and then within the scope of that option, we will calculate your best score, and then and that will be taken for 25% weightage.
Please include MATLAB course.
Yeah.
So you are asking the question to the right person here.
Yeah, so there was a question, please include a MATLAB course. There is a MATLAB course next semester which I teach, which I run. So it's called MATLAB Programming for Numerical Computation. So you're free to join that course. When we are talking about...
I'll just add, so I think there's some persistent question on interpersonal skills exam. So yes, there was a exam where we had a problem, and the students were given an alternate option within the scope of that exam, within the time frame of the exam. There was a technical issue with that exam. We tried to get every exam right. We have about 350 courses, so about 360 courses. So we had about 720 papers running during that exam process, and one of them did have a technical problem. So there is no, I mean, we are very sorry about it. We figured out what the technical issue was, and we solved it within the course of that exam itself, within the duration of that exam. And so within the duration of the exam, the students were given the option to, were actually given the correct way of solving the exam paper. And so from our perspective, it was addressed within the scope of that exam time frame, and therefore it has been addressed completely. Of course, that doesn't take away the fact that the students had to were inconvenienced during the initial part of the exam when the technical problem had to be figured out and addressed. But nevertheless, from the perspective of the exam, a question paper associated with that course, a valid question paper, and was properly delivered to all the students, and pretty much everybody was able to take the exam. So at this point, we are considering that as a closed issue from the perspective of this semester. Of course, there is something that we have to learn from it. We are trying to ensure that that sort of an issue doesn't arise. We have now done well over 1,000 exams, maybe 1,500 exams across several semesters, and we have managed to keep it with that level of accuracy that that was the first time we had an issue of that nature. So that's the thing, and on that particular examination. There are questions on the utility of the NPTEL certificate. Yes, there's another very nice question here. Dress code for the exam. So no, strictly we don't have a dress code, but we do ask that you come somewhat professionally dressed as per your judgment. The way you would go for any interview or some such thing. You don't have to come in coat suit for the examination. That's not what we are asking. But we do suggest that you use your discretion, you use your judgment, what you think would be appropriate for an for appearing at a professional location. That's basically what I say. So please remember, you are training yourself for a variety of different things. So I know in college we tend to be very informal, and many colleges at least. In some colleges they're very formal. In some colleges they expect you to come in at least full sleeve shirt with a tie and all. We are not, from our side, from NPTEL side, we are not expecting that. We value your freedom. You can wear what you feel comfortable and what you like. But all I will say from my side is that you are getting ready for some professional setting. In all professional settings, they'll expect you to come appropriately dressed. That's the general term I can use, appropriately dressed. So they will make a judgment of you. When you walk into the office, when you walk in for an interview, when you attend a meeting, there will be people who will make judgments about you. based on how you are dressed. And so that's not something that you can suddenly learn day after tomorrow. It helps for you to make a habit out of it. So when you do come for an examination, please use that judgment. That's basically all I will say. There have been many questions about calculator. I think already Professor Niket answered it. There is an online calculator on the exam screen, on your question paper screen itself. There will be a calculator on top, which you can click on, and then it will open, and you can do your calculations in that calculator. So you are not allowed to bring your own calculator for obvious reasons, because everybody has, there's so much variety in calculators and all sorts of things can be done with it. So we are not allowing any electronic gadgets into the examination hall. You have to use the calculator on screen, and our faculty are always checking to ensure that the questions that they set can be answered with us using that calculator. Yes.
Yeah. A few more questions that have come up. Can there be gaps between assignments? So the assignments are given on a weekly basis, and there's a 10-day period in which you can attempt that assignment. Let's say the work is getting very taxing for you in a particular week. You have the option of skipping or going light on that particular week as well. Not that I suggest that, but yes, we do best 8 out of 12, best 6 out of 8, and best 3 out of 4, and that is to account for the fact that there will be times in your college where you may not be able to spend as many number of hours in that particular week. So all of these flexibility is meant to address that. Yeah, we will not be changing the assignment schedules. If you actually look at what external people say about NPTEL is the regular assignment is one of the features of NPTEL. It's one of the positive features of NPTEL, and that's something that has gone, a lot of thought has gone into making sure that these things run in a streamlined manner. So that would not be something that we would be changing anytime soon. Also, deadline extensions. I had exams in my college. I had this in my college. I had this and all that. Those would not be considered as appropriate reasons for extensions. Primarily because pretty much every week there's something or the other going on in some college in some part of India. So that would not be an appropriate reasons. But the reasons of force majeure, beyond individuals' controls and all that, those we have considered. But things which are expected semester by semester, we hope the best 3 or best 6 or best 8 out of 4, 8, and 12 respectively takes care of that.
Yeah, a couple of questions that I see there showing up that several people have put up is, one is on negative marking, and the other is about the clash of exam dates with different university exams. I think Anna University is mentioned here, but maybe others have raised other university clashes on the exam dates. So with respect to negative marking, our current process, we don't have negative marking, but I will alert you to the fact that there are two types of questions. One is a multiple choice question, in which case there is only one answer that is right. So A, B, C, D, if C is the right answer, you need not look at A, B, and D. You are done. But increasingly, most of our faculty, we think it is more suitable for the learning process to use multiple select questions, in which case more than one answer may be right. So maybe A and C are both correct answers. So the way we evaluate that is, if you click A as well as C, you will get full marks for the question. If you click only A or only C, then you will get half the marks for that question. But by chance, if you click any one of the incorrect answers, so B and D, by any chance you click either B or D along with the correct answers, then you'll get 0. So if you just go and click A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D, then wherever it is not all A, B, C, D being correct, you will get 0. You will only the specific questions where you have all 4 correct as the correct answer, correct options, you will get marks. So this is called multiple select. So you will be given marks for every correct option that you select, but you will get 0 if you click even one of the incorrect options. So that is the thing about the way in which those questions are set up. So there's multiple choice, multiple select. Many more and more we'll see multiple select questions, because that also requires you to think. You cannot simply say, I got one thing done, I'm done, this question I can forget about it. So you have to actually apply your thought on the other 3 options as well before you decide that you can forget about that question. So that is about the question paper. No negative marking. We are not, we are trying to encourage you to think. We are not really here to make some play a trick on you. So that's not what it is. So second thing is about the university exam. We are working very hard with all the universities and the regulatory authorities, AICTE and UGC, to give our exam dates to them well in advance. So we are giving, almost a year in advance, we are giving our exam dates, releasing our exam dates to all the authorities so that all the universities know these exam dates. And primary reason for doing that is because many universities are taking our courses for credit transfer, and naturally the students should be able to write the exam. If there's a clash, you obviously will not be able to write the exam. So we are doing this very actively. At the same time, still, each university has its own process of setting up their exam dates, their local exam dates. And so sometimes that process is not yet alert to the fact that there's an online exam process also coming, which has exam dates in a certain manner. So what I do request you is to talk to your teachers and to help us and help yourself by also adding your voice to the process. Please convey to your authorities, respective university authorities, to keep track of our exam dates. I think as long as they just take it into account early enough, we will not have a problem, because we only set our exams on Saturdays and Sundays. So if they just take this into account fairly ahead of time, we will not have a problem. From our perspective, since this examination is running at an all India level, it is impossible for us to find a date where absolutely nobody is having an examination. So if we receive a request saying that, Anna University or some other university has an exam on this particular date, can you please change your exam dates? It's impossible. So it is impossible because we cannot find another date where absolutely nobody else has an exam. Second thing is, it is also impossible for us because we are setting up a process across the country, which means we have to book centers, we have to allot numbers, we work with an exam partner, and there's a lot of detailed activity that happens behind the scene so that the exam, on the exam day, everything gets deployed correctly. So we cannot abruptly change it. The exam partner would have booked the center for somebody else on another day. So we cannot, freely say, okay, not Sunday, this time let's do it on Tuesday. It doesn't work that way. They also need us to book with them well in advance. So all these things are there, and therefore we cannot change from our side for all those constraints. So please help us by, working again, like I said, with your SPOCs, your faculty, your professors, and request them to also keep alerting your university authorities to look at our dates. You will know our dates well in advance, so your voice will count a lot if you reach out to your university authorities with those dates. From our side also we are doing it, but it would help if you do it from your side.
You want to talk about the credits? There are questions coming that we have mentioned one credit there. University
I was gonna. That was the thing that. So the credits that we suggest are primarily suggested by NPTEL. So we feel a 4 week course is worth 1 credit, 8 weeks 2 credits, and 12 weeks is worth 3 credits. However, it is up to individual universities, your university, to determine often also on case-to-case basis how they are going to take these credits for credit transfer. So it is possible that a 4 credit course a particular university might say that is worth a 4 week course is worth 2 credits, 8 week course is worth 3 credits, and a 12 week course is worth 4 credits. That is quite possible that your university says. It's also possible that your university might say a particular 12 week course is worth 3 credits, but another 12 week course is worth 4 credits. So that's also possible. All of these decisions are taken after a lot of deliberation in your own universities. But it is up to your universities to determine how that credit transfer is going to happen.
So there's the other question also about ID cards at the exam center. Again, these are all processes that are, these days very common across many exams. You do need to bring some valid ID. I think we are accepting university ID, right?
Yeah.
So your college ID card is also absolutely fine, but you do need to bring some identification card.
Photo ID.
Yeah, photo ID. It should have your photograph on it. It should match with the details that we have. And I think that's a very basic requirement in today's world. It is very difficult for you to justify to even yourself that it is okay to be arriving at an exam center without an ID card. Increasingly, our processes are going to be extremely harsh on. Extremely uncompromising, I would say, on the identity part of it. So if you do arrive at an exam center with no ID card, no hall ticket, there's a good chance you will not be writing the examination. So if you think you have invested so much time learning the subject, so much time preparing for the examination, you should do yourself the service of meeting these basic requirements of arriving at the exam hall in time with your ID card and your hall ticket. And like I said, there's nothing unusual about what we're asking. This is very standard procedure across all examinations. And
So a query from Kabir, what about, so although Dr. Jayakrishnan has replied to it, I will take that up. Currently, you are not able to see the certificates on the NPTEL website. We are in the process of bringing that up with a few new features. We want to bring in the idea of domain certifications also. So please bear with us. I know this is not probably the best answer that you'd like to hear, but that's what it currently is. We faced a little bit of a technical difficulty in recent times, so we thought that we'll take this opportunity to spruce it up with the domain certifications also coming along.
So there were some questions on GATE preparation. We have actually been trying to address it in different ways. We do have a GATE portal which is still being worked on, where one thing that we have done is we have taken old GATE question papers and linked questions to lectures where the topic is being discussed. We are looking at other ways of addressing the requirement for GATE processes. Generally, yes, if you take the course, a few basic courses from us on the subject that you're interested in, you may be able to prepare for the GATE exam. But we are trying to streamline that so that you can do the preparation better using the resources that are there on the NPTEL site. But that's still a work in progress. We have not really set it up maybe in the best possible manner. We are still working on it. We will do that. So yes, there are questions also on changing date of birth and changing various identity requirements. So we often get, please understand, I would like to take this opportunity to reach out to you and tell you this, that we have about 200,000 plus students writing the examination. So and what we are requiring from the student side is very straightforward data. We are not asking anything complicated. We are asking for your name, your email address, your date of birth, and things like that, which are all things that you should know, without any hesitancy, without any sense of doubt, and so on. And therefore, it is extremely disturbing to see. So a certain number of students who will reach out and say, I entered my date of birth wrong. I mean, I can't imagine an excuse for that. I entered my name wrong. And I think, like I say, you're all typically students who are past your 12th standard. There's simply no way you can tell me that you don't know how to spell your name and you don't know how to, write your date of birth. I mean, if that is really true, you should be taking some other course. I mean, this is not the course that you should be taking if you have issues with being able to indicate your name and date of birth. So we have a very, there are a lot of things related to the basic data that you give us. So it is not going to be easy for us. It's not possible for us to keep changing your basic data and then still trying to link all your data to that information. So as far as we are concerned, you have to put in that due diligence and accurately enter your basic data. Nothing complicated. We are asking basic data, and again arrive at the exam hall, like I said, with reasonable attire, as I would put it, and with an ID card and your hall ticket. This is basically all we are asking.
Exams outside India was a question.
So there's a question on exams outside India. So this is something we are working on. There is interest for international applicants to be able to write our exams outside India. Again, there are two issues here. One is the cost aspect of it. We run on a non-profit basis. So the costing that we have for Indian students here, which is of the order of 1,000 rupees per exam, is based on the not-for-profit analysis, based on what the processes that are involved here and the costs that we incur for those processes. Naturally, if it's an international location, the costs are different, and it varies from country to country based on the rates that they quote, people in those countries quote for some basic services that we have asked for. So we are trying to explore that possibility. Potentially next semester we may have a few international sites where our exams will be available. We are working on it. We also need some commitment from the universities internationally that they can host that examination process. Because that's a very important aspect of the certification process. So we'll work on it and we will keep you posted if we have international sites. You can rest assured that the process will be similar. You will have the same, in the drop down menu, there is a good chance that you will see international locations if that becomes available. We already have a few international students who have flown in from their respective countries to India and have actually participated in examinations in various places, primarily because NPTEL is able to give them courses which they cannot get anywhere else. I mean, you can imagine an offshore engineer, if he wants something on offshore structures, he or she may not be able to find such a course with such level of detail, just like that available on the internet. I mean, you can get some general information, but you want a detailed, technically sound course, you are unlikely to find it. So they are willing to come and write exams, but we would like to make that a much more natural process.
Yeah. Again, just to add to it, the proctored exam is an important part of the certification process. So you're free to take the course, you're free to do all the assignments and get all the benefit from the course except certification. For certification, you have to come personally to an exam center. There would not be an online exam based on which a certification would be given. That is something that has been determined as one of the things that NPTEL requires as a part of certification process, the proctored in-person exam. There were a few questions about next level of courses and also a related question. I guess we had said this, but we will mention it again. What is domain certifications? So let's say currently what you do is you might do one course here, one course there, a third course somewhere else, and those are the 3 NPTEL courses that you might have done. Let's say if you want to be some kind of a minor expert in one particular field. Okay, how about you be providing you a facility like this, that you do these 2 compulsory courses, and in addition to this you do 3 or 4 other courses in a stipulated period of time, let's say 2 or 3, within a 2 or 3 year window. If you are able to do those 5 or 6 courses successfully, then you get what we call as a domain certificate. A domain certificate could be, let's say, in chemical engineering, a domain certificate could be in data sciences, etc. So the idea is that it is not one course, but a series of 5 or 6 courses that go towards identifying you as a domain certified student. That's what domain certificate is, and that partly answers what is the plan for next level of courses and what's the plan for basic, intermediate and advanced level of courses. So once we roll out this idea of domain certification, hopefully this idea of I did one course, what next, or I did a basic course, will I have an intermediate and advanced level of courses? Hopefully those also will get addressed. So the idea is that we have a basket of courses that you can do so that you get a very good, strong fundamental background in that particular subject and not in that particular course alone. The next question is, how is a particular NPTEL course beneficial for a job? The way I look at it is, don't take one particular NPTEL course as something that is going to be beneficial to get you a job. How you want to look at it is use NPTEL courses, one or more of NPTEL courses, to build a skill set. Industries are looking for skill sets. Industries are looking for people that come up with certain skills, that come up with certain attitudes, that come up with certain aptitude, and use NPTEL courses along with other avenues to build those skill sets. And that is something that would be beneficial, not just in the short term for getting a job, but also in the long term.
So there is a question here which I think is a very important question for us to discuss, which is the relationship. I think I don't remember exactly how it was worded, but fundamentally it's the relationship between NPTEL and Swayam. So I would like to take this opportunity to make that relationship clear. So basically NPTEL was the sort of the first and most significant online education movement in the higher education sector within India. And so we have been on this for about almost 15 years, in which in the last 4 or 5 years, we have been doing this online certification process. So we have huge amount of experience in this online certification process, and NPTEL is a Government of India MHRD funded project, and it is coordinated by IIT Madras with all the 7 IITs and IISc participating. So that's the nature of the NPTEL activity. Seeing the utility of what NPTEL has built, and also the general philosophy of trying to make education more accessible to the Indian public, the government has opened a larger portal called the Swayam portal. In the Swayam portal, there are multiple agencies through which you get courses. or what we call national coordinators through whom you get courses. NPTEL continues to remain one of those national coordinators. You have other coordinators also present there. So, but the advantage of that is that, or the thinking behind it is that if you come to the Swayam site, you can get access to courses from multiple agencies that are offering courses. So, NPTEL courses will show up there, and you can participate in an NPTEL course from the Swayam site. You can also participate in courses from other agencies on the Swayam site. So, when you go there, you will see these different national coordinators, and you can pick courses from the other coordinators also and participate in that process. For each coordinator, there is considerable freedom on how they do things and how they are presenting their content and the audience that they are aiming for. So you have to look at that and make a decision on which course you want to take. So when you send queries to us, we are in a position to handle queries primarily for the NPTEL domain. And we are the most experienced. We are assisting the other partners also to set up their domains to their satisfaction. But at the same time, we are primarily responsible for the NPTEL domain. So for both with respect to the courses, the processes used, any queries with respect to something working, something not working, etc., we will be in a position to answer for the NPTEL domain. Exam dates will also differ. They may have different exam dates relative to where we are. So all of that detail you have to look at. So when you once you go to the Swayam site, you have more things that you can look at. Naturally, you have to pay a little bit more attention to what you are picking, what date it is, what course it is, what offering it is, and so on. So you have to apply a little thought as you process the decide what courses you want to take. But this is the relationship across the various national coordinators. You get the flexibility to do multiple different things. But naturally, you have to also watch what you're doing so that you are actually doing what you want to do. So that's all. That's the way I think you need to look at it. And as I said, each national coordinator can be approached for any issues that you have with respect to the courses that they are coordinating. So if you see any problem that you see on the NPTEL site, you have to write to us. If you see it on the some other national coordinators course, you have to write to them, and they will be the ones responding to it, because they will be the ones watching over that particular course and its deployment and any issues related to that. So that's the relationship, and that's something I think is very important for you to know, because you get choice as well as things that you have to be careful about.
Yeah.
Programming environment.
Right. So in fact, I was going to take that up next, but now that you have mentioned it. So there have been questions whether will there be only MCQ course questions, will there be programming questions, and so on. I would not be able to answer this question for all the courses. You will have to probably ask on the course forum to find out more details. But there will not be programming question paper, in the sense that write a C++ program or write a Java program or write a MATLAB program which will be then compiled and will be tested. That type of question will not be asked for the exam. Now I can
not have a compiler.
Yeah, so your exam, the online exam that you are going to do in the proctored exam does not have a compiler. So just to take an example from my own course, so I do a MATLAB course next semester. So I do not ask a MATLAB program, but I will say that, let's say you wanted to do this particular task in MATLAB, what will be the single line code that you will use? The other alternative that I would ask is, I would ask them to write a 4-line or a 5-line code, and that code I'm actually evaluating manually rather than that code being compiled and the results being verified. Okay, so those are the type of questions that can possibly be asked in the exam. The exams would have also MCQ question. The exam could even have this question, let's say A equal to 1, B equal to 3, A star B, what's the value? That would be 3. So if you have done a programming course, you know that A star B means A multiplied by B, and that would be, I'm taking a very, very simple example, but that would be an example of a numerical problem that can be asked. Okay, faculty do try to ask different types of questions in order to evaluate how much your learning has been on the course. So even if it is a programming course, we will ask certain types of questions, but they will not involve programming questions. They will not involve a compiler.
Yeah, and some of you have asked, I think a few different people have asked about internships and how you can get into an internship. So the way we are currently doing it is that first of all, there is a theory course that you are participating in. And then the toppers of the course are, at the end of the course, once the evaluation is complete, we know who are the people who have topped the course. And then what we do is we invite the faculty to contact, to invite the toppers for an internship if they have the ability to host them. So that really depends on the ability of the lab of that faculty, and what how busy they are that during the summer or winter break, and what exactly they can do for you, demonstrate for you or give you experience in that lab. So we are inviting all of our faculty. So if there are 360 courses, all 360 courses we are open for, technically open for internship, but it really depends on the faculty's constraints and other requirements. So then they will tell us so some number of those 360 faculty will tell us that they are in a position to host interns, and they will also give us some idea of how many interns they are able to host. And once they are able to give us that information, we reach out to the toppers of the course and then invite them to come for the internship based on any number constraints and so on. And then we do assist with some to meet some of the financial requirements of the internship process. We offer some assistance. So this is how it is done. Right now, it is not compulsory that every course will have an internship. We are not able to ensure that at the moment, but we see the value in it. The people who have attended some of those internships are very happy about that experience. They're really thrilled at how well it went. So we are trying our best to expand it as much as possible, but within the scope of logistical constraints, we will be able to do certain things, and we will try to do it as best as we can.
Yeah. So there's also been a question, and in fact there have been questions multiple times about questions in the exams or questions in the assignments have been too hard, have been too easy. I did not learn anything from the course because I knew everything that was taught in the course, or I didn't learn anything from the course because the course was so difficult that I couldn't understand anything after week one. Yes, these things happen. That kind of variability is something that you would expect from 360 courses. If you found the course to be too difficult, it is possible that you did not do the prerequisites for the course prior to taking the course. It's also possible that the style of teaching, learning did not suit your style of learning. So yes, all of these things are possible. These variabilities are to be expected in an effort like NPTEL. So yes, if there are very specific feedback, we always take those feedback and we go back to our faculty and share those feedback with them. But yes, I mean, courses being too hard or too easy or somewhat hard or somewhat easy, all those variabilities are something to be expected.
So there's some question on final examination, re-exam of the final exam, possibility to get grace marks and such. So first thing is, we are not, given the scale of the operation and the complexity of the operation, we are not in a position to offer a re-exam. And we defend that, philosophically you can defend that because the people who are taking the final exam are people who have had an opportunity to see the entire course, satisfy themselves that they are actually doing the course very well, they are able to actually score well in the assignments and so on, and only after that we are asking them to make a decision on whether they want to take the exam or not. This is not a forced activity. This is so you have full freedom to decide to just look at the course contents, answer the assignment and not take the exam. So you have that complete freedom. So when you decide to take the exam and you do enroll, register for the exam, that's a responsibility you're taking up on your behalf, and so that's something that you have to satisfy for yourself. So that is the first thing that I'll tell you. And given the complexity of the operation and the scale of the operation, it is not possible for us to put one more exam in place just to address the possibility that there's a re-exam, and that again doesn't guarantee anything. If supposing 10% of the students take that or 20% of the students take that, there's nothing to guarantee that all of them will pass again. So it's like sort of an endless thing. So we do close the course in some logical sense, and we expect that you have given your best shot, and that's the result. So that's the way we want to look at it. And since you have the full freedom to do anything else, we believe that that's something that we have to work with. In terms of grace marks, we don't formally give any grace mark as such. The faculty do look at the broad set of scores that come in, and look at what has happened in the course, and then on taking all that into account, the final marking scheme and whatnot is looked at, and then only the marks are finalized and released. So statistics are looked at, course statistics are looked at, a lot of analysis is done behind the screen before the result comes out, because otherwise you can see, you will wonder, it's just a multiple choice question or a multiple select question, machine gradable question. So technically, when you finish that submit button, at that instant itself your score is technically ready. I mean, if the answer key is in place, at that instant technically your score is ready. But we don't just like that release the score. A lot of analysis happens at the back end. We also double check that there are no errors and so on, and then finally the scores, the faculty participate in that process, so they are not just releasing the paper and leaving it. They look very carefully at what has happened in the examination before the score gets released to you. So many things are taken into account there, and I believe generally the result that you get will be a very fair reflection of your effort in that course.
So a couple of you are posting the same queries again. I would request you to not do that, because things are scrolling very fast. Yes, it is quite possible that you might find you might have found teaching in a particular course not to your liking. Teaching might have been poor, but there's no compulsion that you have to enroll in that exam. For example, you have ample opportunity to look at the videos, to look at the assignments before you actually enroll for or register for the exams. So again, this kind of variabilities are to be expected. There are 360 courses this particular semester itself, and there's no compulsion for anyone to do any courses or anyone to do only a limited number of courses or unlimited number of courses with respect to enrollment in these courses. Yes, I see your point that you may have been displeased with a particular course, but that's a part of life. So however much we might dislike to make a statement like that.
So I will also add on the variability between courses. So we have, as Professor Niket said, we have about 360 courses that we're running this semester. So naturally, there are 360 different individuals delivering, or of that order. Maybe some are delivering more than one course, but that order of individuals are delivering courses. There are different course delivery styles, and the content of the course is also different. So, and it also, the audience is also different. So you may find that there's a course which you found that you didn't like, but a friend of yours found absolutely acceptable, not just acceptable, actually liked it. So we do see that. We are, just to let you know, every week we get feedback from students, which is passed on to faculty so that they can make some changes if they wish. And we are also looking at the overall course statistics in terms of student feedback at the end of the semester, so that we can make some decisions on which courses are running well, which are not running as well as we would like them to run, and make some corrections on the back end of the overall operation, so that the course, if it runs again, is running maybe better with some corrections in place. So all those aspects are there. One, that the faculty can have variety, and I think that is good. We are not running an industry here. We are not going to tell you that all courses will be taught for exactly 7 minutes each class, and they will tell only there will be only some 13 slides, and they'll do only the following number of things. We are not going to do that. Every course will have individual character of the faculty visible to you. There will be variability there. You as a student are an individual. Your tastes are going to differ. So there is no guarantee that a change on this end is going to satisfy everybody who is watching it. There will be many students who like the course that you don't like. Basically, as Professor Niket said, you have choice also. You can select to do another course. And we are also, of course, actively looking at your feedback. If there are several students who say that there is an issue with the course, we definitely respond to it, react to it, and try to do something from our side. So that's something I think you should feel comfortable with, looking at a variety of things and accepting them in the way they come. I'll also tell you the course content itself varies. So there are certain courses where, let's say, there is like a very detailed derivation that needs to be done. And some people may not like that detailed derivation. Some people may simply say, no, I don't like detailed derivations. I want only some final result. I straight away want some examples. So they may not like it, and that we cannot help. The faculty will say, no, if you want to be an expert in this course, you have to do this detailed derivation. So I am going to do the detailed derivation. So that level of variability is also still going to be there. So that's also something that you should keep in mind.
There was one question about, and I should have picked it up. I apologize, about persons with disabilities. So if you are a person with disability who, for example, if you are a person with visual disability who requires a scribe, if you are a person with other disabilities which prevents you from going to the first floor and so on, please write an email to us. If this has not already been included in your registration form, please write an email to us at support@nptel.iitm.ac.in.
Yeah.
Those have to be handled on an individual case basis. But in your exam registration form, we ask for the details about the disability. So hopefully most people would have filled. We try our level best with our exam partners to handle your cases. But please bring it to our notice if there's some specific question that you might have.
Yeah, so there was some question specific, which is course specific. So I would request you to send it on the forum of the course. Although I think you're saying that it was put on the forum for introduction to research and possibly not answered is the way I understand it from the forum here. We are looking at that forum and answering questions as much as possible and trying not to avoid anything. Sometimes the same question is asked by different people in different modes. So an answer that we have given a little earlier may be relevant to you. So if there is something that we missed in that course, please once again send and we will try to answer it. Mostly it's been an active forum. Wherever questions have been asked, we have been responding. So that is it. We usually have
working professional. You want to take that?
I'm a working professional and I'm registered for
Yeah,
exam.
one question. I'm a working
Yes.
professional. I have registered for exam. Absolutely, you are allowed to write. the exam.
Anybody can write our examination. We have no restrictions on who can write. We have had very senior people write examinations. We have had first year students write examinations. We have even had 12th standard students write examination. We have working professional across a wide range of professional settings come and write our exam, including DIG of police kind of people, general manager of metro train services. So we have no restrictions from our side. That is the whole point of this exercise. We keep it completely open. So please feel free to take any course you wish. Please feel free to come and write the examination. We are most happy to welcome you there. Any other question?
Please
Taking
allow.
the rough sheet out
There's
of
no
the
need-
exam hall.
no.
We are not allowing any rough sheets out of the exam hall. We have a certain exam process and a certain security associated with it, and we want to keep things uniform. Please also understand we are running the exam across 200 centers, 200 plus centers in 100 plus cities across the country. We want to keep processes uniform across all of these centers. And so as part of all that and part of general exam security and fairness to all students, we don't allow any sheet in, we don't allow any sheet out. We supply what you need for the examination. You come, you write the exam and then you have to hand things back before you leave. And again, this is true for pretty much most exams that you will attend. So it's nothing very unusual about what we are doing. We are just doing it in this exam also. Usually there's something on the statistics of the course post the result. It should be there where you are able to get your certificate, the full details of the course, what was the course average, what was your score. Many statistics related to the course are available at that site where you are downloading your certificate. In fact, if you scan that QR code, you will get to that site. So that is fine.
All the old certificates are available in nptel.ac.in/NOC.
They're available now?
Everything is
Yes,
available.
okay, so I was wrong about the certificates. The old certificates are now available on nptel.ac.in/NOC, so you can check there.
You can ask for more live sessions with your course faculty, but please post in the respective course fora and they will be able to respond to you. There may be logistical constraints, timing constraints that they are unable to not necessarily be able to get to the live session. I'm watching questions coming up too as I'm answering you, hence the sudden pause. So course topper webpage, we do have one more.
The course topper webpage is up. The photos are not up yet. So the photos we'll bring up probably in a week or 10 days.
So I hope, yeah. So that
Different deadlines for different exams. Assignments.
No, we do not have different dates for the exams. The exams would be on the dates that we have published. The exam dates have been published well in advance.
So we have one more of our coordinators joining you here for a brief participation. So Professor Andrew Thangaraj, he's the coordinator for the NPTEL project as well. And so you have any questions specific to him, please feel free to ask. And by the way, we are communicating to you from our main office. So this is what you are seeing is part of the committee room of that office. And behind us, what you can see a little bit through the door is our operations, which run full swing through the year. Just to give you an idea, since we are here, to handle 200,000 students, exams of 200,000 students, not to mention the fact that 15 lakh students or 1.5 million students are enrolled on our courses. We have only about 50 odd people at the Madras site and about 50 people across the country. So about 100 odd people who are actually delivering this to you, which is the office staff that runs this show. And very huge amount of work or very high intensity work goes on throughout the year to enable this clean delivery with such a lean operation. And so that's what you are seeing part of it at this point. Centers, exam centers is something that people keep asking. We try to get you the best center possible or the nearest center possible. Again, many constraints because in India, we at some level we are a land of exams. So many exams are going on all the time. So we have to, there are only some number of centers which will help us deliver the exam to you in the right manner. And so we have to work within those constraints of those limited centers and try to get you a center reasonably close to where you are. And that is why we ask you for 3 choices and try to get you one of those choices. At the moment, that's the best we can do. We are unable to get it to you. I understand that in some cases that is not an optimum solution, depending on which town you are in or place you are in. Even though the center doesn't appear far, maybe it takes you a lot of time to get to the center, and maybe the public transport is not good. I do understand those constraints. We are fully aware of it. We are still trying to keep on. We keep trying to improve that all the time. But you can rest assured that we work very hard to do that, and it is a top priority for us. But at any given point in time, what we are delivering to you is the best we are able to deliver under the constraints that we have.
Yeah. You want to add to that?
Yeah, I think we do try and stick to the city that you have given as your preference. Mostly you will get that. In very, very unlikely rare situations, you have to go outside of that. I saw a couple of questions on domains and all that.
Maybe there's a question on some old lectures being present. Do you want to say something about it? Old lectures. There is lectures recorded before 2019 are there in the course.
Are there in courses now?
So you can.
Yeah, so some of the courses have they're probably on basic subjects and the material does not change so rapidly that we need to provide brand new recordings every time. Yeah, some of the recordings might be slightly old style. Maybe the
my own
resolution is
course
not that
this
good.
semester was recorded in 2010.
Yeah.
1 hour per lecture. What I did was we looked at all the lectures, diced it up into anything between 10 to 20 minute lectures, lecture chunks, put them on. Because again, there's a cost that is involved with re-recording also. So where we can repurpose the courses, we try to repurpose them rather than re-record.
There's one question that's repeatedly coming about university exam clashes.
So it says, is it compulsory for all universities of India to give chance to students to allow NPTEL
exams? I think it's not compulsory.
It is not compulsory. What is enabled is that most universities can permit you to have up to 20% of your credits coming through the NPTEL process or the Swayam process, and which means roughly one course in every semester. Usually, you almost to that degree you can take from this online process. But you really have to work with your universities and each university can decide what those courses are. So even though we are offering 360 courses this semester, possibly one university might say that only 50 of these we feel are relevant to our students. So only if they take one of those 50 courses, we will give credit transfer. So they may come up with some restrictions like that. So you have to check with your university what restrictions they are placing on that process. And within the scope of that, you can take those courses. But like I say, if for whatever reason your university has not already decided to do this, please feel free to talk to your teachers and work with your teachers and work with your professors and reach the university authorities and request them to start considering this, given that you have this option available and it gives you a lot of choice to do various courses. At IIT Madras, we have our students, IIT Madras students also take courses on NPTEL for credit transfer. So it is not something that is, that is unusual or something that is wrong or any such thing. It is normal process. We are doing it for our own students, and many universities are doing it for their students. So absolutely fine to do it, but please work with your authorities to enable it for yourself.
How do I get into ISRO? Anybody has an answer?
Yeah, so there is a question, how do I get into ISRO? I like the question. Unfortunately, I don't have a direct answer to it. I think the way you can achieve your goals is, working hard towards building the skill sets. That is the first part. There will be a certain formal steps also in addition to that that would be required. So there would be a formal minimum criterion that would be required for any position at any organization, including ISRO. So you definitely need to meet that minimum criterion. That unfortunately NPTEL cannot provide, because we are not providing, for example, degrees and things like that. That's outside of purview that currently that government allows us to do. In addition to that, you need to have a certain set of skills in order to meet the technical requirements for a particular JD, particular job description. And those are the things that you can build up with the help of NPTEL courses. So what you need to do is, in the domain that you are interested in, look at the course offerings, search for those course offerings. For example, in ISRO, the most likely courses would be the courses from aerospace department. Look at them and start taking one or two of those courses. Interact with the faculty and TAs and other course students on the forums, and hopefully you will learn sufficient through that activity in order to help you with the next step.
Yeah, I'd also add as a general
Question on
comment.
internship, is that
Internship
addressed?
also
or-
we
we have
addressed.
already been addressed.
So I mean, also a general point about the ISRO thing is, ISRO is a government, government of India based activity. So they do have advertisements. So first of all, you have to look at their advertisements. Maybe just for information's sake, you can look at some of their past advertisements where they say that we have the following openings. So if you look at that advertisement, you will get an idea of what kind of positions they have, what kind of positions they are advertising, what is their entry level position. With respect to your qualification, which position is the nearest that you can aim for, most appropriate that you can aim for. So things like that. You might want to start there. You can look at their advertisements, get a good idea from there what they're looking for and how close you are to that. And then with respect to that, if you think there is something from the NPTEL side that you can learn, which will either help you feel more confident when you go for an interview with them, or prepare yourself for some task there, you should go ahead and do that.
There's been a question about, can I redo a particular course if in the previous semester I did not clear, or for that matter, if for example you are not happy with the marks that you received in the previous semester. Definitely you can redo the course in a subsequent semester. You can redo the exam also in the subsequent semester and try to do even better than you performed previously. So.
And by the way, there's a question about the next semester course list. It is already up on our NPTEL site. The enrollments will open 1st of December, and but you can go ahead and you can take a look at our upcoming list of courses right away. So it is already up there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Time to wind up. It's been like 1.5 hours. I know people
Yes.
are not stopping.
Okay,
questions.
so we thank you all for joining us. I think we're going to wind up here. We had planned for an yes, there is a comment here on lockers to keep mobiles in the exam center. We are working with our exam partner on that. Fundamentally, we cannot allow electronic gadgets to come into the exam center because, there are a lot of security issues associated with that, exam security issues associated with that. So that cannot be done. And various centers, various places, the facilities will vary. So we have to look at that. So that's something we will work on. So from our side, we would like to thank you for joining us. It's been 1.5 hours that we have been discussing with you. Perhaps once a semester we might do something like this. Feel free to pull your questions together and join us when we do it.
Thanks. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Thank
Please
you very
send
much
your
for
questions
joining
by
us.
email if you have. Sorry. Thank you.
At support, you can.
Hey, you're still
Right,
on.
and it released to
Have you
support.
stopped it?